Welcome to your awakening journey. Today's destinations include higher consciousness and actualized potential. If all ascenders could now please be seated in a comfortable meditative posture, we're about to ascend. You are now arriving at your host, Bryan Henry.
What is up, Ascenders? My name is Bryan Henry, and I'm the founder of Together We Ascend and the Ascend Academy, and your host to the Awaken podcast. Tasha Belle is magic, creating magic, and the magic she's creating is co-creating a new earth. I am so proud of this being. The way that she has been accelerating in her personal ascension and been expanding into her power has been a sight to behold. And I've had the personal pleasure of witnessing this over the past couple months because Tasha is one of the beloved members of the Ascend Academy. She's also becoming what I've been describing as a showcase member, a showcase ascender of the activation process, the process that we take our Academy members through for activating their higher consciousness and their higher purpose. The transformation that I've been, again, getting the chance to see her go through and that she describes herself going through, she actually credits the activation process in supporting her through. Even I'm blown away by the type of results that she's been getting out of this. I am honored to know that she gives any credit whatsoever to this process supporting her through what I've been seeing in her, and that's a being that's coming into their power, coming into a clear, focused expression of who they are and what they came here to do. Once we get into the episode and you begin to hear her speak for yourself, you'll know that this is a being that is fully committed to collective ascension. She's connected to oneness and she is here to serve. And I'm inspired by the vision and the way that she speaks to her vision for our collective. And so again, it's been an absolute blessing to connect with her, to witness her in being what she came here to be, and again, having her in the Ascend Academy. So I knew I had to bring her on to share with you her experiences with the activation process and as a member of the Ascend Academy, so that those of you that may have been hearing about this invitation to the lightworkers that are ready to unite, I thought this would be a great way to get a little bit of an inside look from an Academy member that isn't myself and hear a bit about their experiences. So this is Tasha. She's going to be sharing a bit about her experiences as a Ascend Academy member. But perhaps even more importantly than that, Tasha Belle is magic, creating magic. And in this episode of Awaken, she's going to help you do the same. We are live for another Awaken podcast episode with the beautiful Tasha Belle.
Hello.
Thank you for being here, Tasha.
Thank you.
I got a podcast vet in front of me. You've done it all before. You were on your own show. Are you still running with that? I know you've been doing the podcast.
I co-hosted a show.
Okay, but
yeah, I co-hosted a show.
You're done with that now, right?
I finished that up. Yes.
Okay. What is your
time
experience?
For bigger platforms.
Time to take that step forward. Why don't we kickstart with a little bit of a introduction of yourself, and then I want to hear a little bit about your experience with podcasting. I'm curious.
Okay. Well, my name is Tasha. I am a member of Ascended Academy with Bryan. I had a podcast show called Downward Dogma where I co hosted with two other lovely ladies. We broke apart constructs of our society and the government's control tactics and the psychological warfare that exists between those constructs. Um, I recently left the show because now I want to be more focused on building new earth structures and away from the dissecting of a structure that we already know is falling apart on its own. So now I am looking forward to finding platforms that bring light workers together to unite and build new earth structures in physical manifestation form in order to support those that will be soon awakening in the masses.
That mission, that's a mission. And I think it's exactly why we've connected and you've become a member of the Ascend Academy. Everything that you stand for, everything that you've been bringing is in total alignment with all that I'm about, all that we're about. And I want you to know, I know you've heard this before, but I want the world to know that it's been an absolute pleasure to connect with someone like yourself who is so clearly committed to service to others, service, selfless service. Each and every time I hear you talk, it's so evident that you're thinking in terms of the highest good of all. I've never heard you speak and it sound like you're trying to get something out of things. You're always talking about us, what we're creating, the world we're creating. And I just have so much respect for that.
Thank you. I have so much respect and appreciation for you. Thank you for coming into my life. I love you.
I love you too, Tasha. It was it was a really interesting experience how we connected and what unfolded in such a short period of time. I I want to tell that story. I want you to join me in telling that story. Why don't you tell me what was the what what compelled you to connect with me? And I know you had come to the masterclass activation, then we ended up having a one-on-one session. What was it about the energy, and what was that experience like for you?
It was an amazing experience in so many different ways and on so many levels. Um, I had actually had an experience of disconnecting from an energy, and the day after that, you messaged me and invited me to the masterclass, I believe, or the activation. And you represented a very high vibe energy that definitely came in the moment to keep me focused in a particular direction. And with that experience, I joined that activation class that was amazing. I mean, your vibration and the what you can ground and open up for others to experience is really beautiful. It's very high vibe, like in a very quick amount of time, and that's a really special um, existence of being to be able to open that for other people to come in and ground themselves within that portal. And I automatically knew I wanted to work with you at the end of um, that webinar. And so when we discussed further about joining the Ascended Academy, I had told you that I wanted to join, but because of the way that I've disconnected myself from the Matrix experience, I don't have bank accounts or ways to like transfer money electronically. So, you know, I told you that I'm magic, so it'll all unfold. Well, part of my experience has been definitely shadow work and my awakening process. And with Lilith in particular, which is represented as the shadow feminine that was kicked out of the garden and replaced by Eve, which I see as the illusionary feminine. And in my awakening experience, I had acquired this full-size school bus that I was going to live in with my children, and I named her Lilith. The day after we decided that the Ascended Academy would be a good fit, I got a Facebook message from somebody on Marketplace called Whimsical asking to come and see my bus. And so they came to see my bus and they bought it. And it turns out that the man that bought the bus, he bought it for extra space for his wife. And his name was Adam Files, and her name meant darkness. So basically, I sold Lilith to Adam's Files, which is pretty amazing in itself. But at
And
the
this
end
happened
of
what within a week of you
it happened
telling
the next
me,
day.
wow,
It happened the
the
next
day
day.
after you say you manifest like magic because you are magic.
Yeah. And he asked me if I took PayPal. And I said, no, I don't, but you can send it straight over to my friend at Ascended Academy. So I basically transferred the bus money from Lilith straight over to the Divine Masculine, which was pretty awesome.
It just goes to show the power and being able to trust that all will unfold in highest alignment if we stay connected, we stay in tuned, and we stay on our highest path. And
Right.
when you had told that to me, I felt a sense of trust from you, and it made me find it so easier to be in that trust as well. And it's truly an incredible
Right.
power of faith. That's what I see it as, a testament and a showcase of the power of faith, which can move mountains if you allow it to. And like I said, you
Yes.
demonstrate that so powerfully.
Yes. And then remember, it's that everything comes in perfect divine timing.
Trusting that too.
I mean, if I would have sold that, yeah, if I would have sold that bus at any other time, I would have done something else with that money. But it was
Mm-hmm.
like a savings account for exactly when the transfer needed to happen.
Mm. Sometimes only when
And
you're.
it's really proof to me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say
It was really
sometimes
proof
it's
to
only
me
in
that
looking. You're gonna go ahead.
it's perfect timing, and really that's just it. Exactly when we need everything. It's always available with us. It's always here with us. And we spend so much time searching for what we want instead of focusing that we have everything we need, and that's just the same pathway to everything that we desire.
And connecting to that feeling that we have everything we need, I find allows for the evidence of that, the experience of that to unfold in a greater way. And that might sound, it's you get further confirmation that you're supported when you come into that vibration, that frequency of feeling like you have everything you need.
Right. And feeling like you are magic. So
Mm-hmm.
you can create a new reality at any moment. You don't have to stay in a certain construct or way of thinking, because unlimited potential is available at every moment. And you don't have to be consciously aware of it if you're in your natural vibration and in alignment with yourself, because it will just appear.
Mm-hmm. That goes beyond what's happening in here.
Right.
You feel into that vibration, and that which is greater than the mind can imagine, I find, starts to unfold. So I feel like thinking about what we want too much can actually be a can work against us, because we we can end up constraining ourselves to an image of something. And I just I feel like trusting in that unknown and moving into that unknown, clarity of purpose and intention definitely is powerful. But there's this there's this way of just simplifying it to magic, feeling into magic,
Right.
feeling full, feeling whole, feeling that sense of trust, and knowing that it's coming, knowing that better than imagine's coming.
Right. I like to do it with focusing on the essence of something. Like the essence takes you into the feeling of what you want to experience. So you imagine how you would feel in an experience, and then you just don't limit the way that that experience can come to you. Like I
Mm,
used to have this manifestation where I wanted to have a bathtub that looked out over nature, and I like kept that manifestation running in my mind, but just focusing on what I would feel like what would I be in that experience where I was just sitting and experiencing all of that perfection to me. And it came through by meeting a beautiful woman that invited me into her home and then allowed me to house sit for her while she went on vacation for like 5 weeks and then several times after that. And she had an amazing bathroom period. It was like a spa. And she had a huge bathtub that had windows all around it that looked right out into the lake. There was like a huge tree right there. And
mm,
it was exactly what I had pictured. And it wasn't mine, but I didn't need it to be mine because it was just
mhm,
about experiencing it.
mm,
And so then you move on to another manifestation. And if you're trying to, like, if I only constricted that to I wanted to live in a house that had that, well, that would constrict other things that needed to unfold in my life because I wasn't meant to have a house that was um, in a grounded place. I was meant to be moving at the time. So, you just allow it to be open for however it comes to you. And you just pay attention to the essence of how you want to feel in that moment.
Magic 101 with Tasha. I think we have the theme or the title of the episode unfolding here. Definitely has the word
That sounds
magic in
good.
it.
I
Yeah,
have
what you
lots of
said
magical
about,
experiences.
yeah, you're magic, girl. You're full of magic. And again, you're just a perfect example of how we can bring magic into our lives and create magic. I want to emphasize a point that you just made there. It's, not restricting yourself and trying to think about, or in thinking about how it's going to come about, because limits the that will limit you in the unimaginable ways that it might unfold for you. So feeling into the essence. Now, I just want to hear you talk more about this. You want to make magic. You're feeling into the essence of something. Talk to me about that that experience, that process, if you will.
Well, it is about meeting the vibration of it. So if you are putting it in a construct and your mind has a way of how you can get from point A to point B, and then you start working to get to that door, and then that door is closed when you get there, your vibration will fall back into a lack mentality because you just put all this work to go to this one door and it wasn't open for you. So then that opens the way for self-doubt, and you can start spiraling back down. not believing you're worthy of what you're trying to manifest. So if you don't put any mental constructs on it, and definitely don't allow a door to be closed, don't personalize that as rejection, because one of my favorite phrases since my experience of awakening has begun is rejection is just spirit's protection. And so it's not about those things being closed to you, it's about just a redirection of what you're trying to get to into a different way. And a lot of the experiences that we have when we're elevating, if we're trying to create magic, we're not going to know the door because it's on a different wavelength than what we're currently on. We're trying to get up from that wavelength through the manifestation. So you have to stay open to it in order for it to exist. Because if you're trying to create and manifest on the same wavelength, you know, those are the doors that are going to physically be in front of you through your mental capacity. You can't mentally know what's on the other side of what you don't know.
That willingness to move into the unknown is so key too.
Right.
Love it.
Right. The
It's beautiful.
willingness to move into the unknown is, it's beautiful, but it's also very hard to do if you are running a lot of programs in your mind. And I think that on a spiritual basis, a lot of the reason why we need to start grounding new earth structures and not just connecting online in a way that is unphysical for a lot of people is that programs run really deep. They're even included in the frequency of the TVs and the radio and the people that are around us. So you have to be very centered and very mindful of everything within your environment and over in order to raise your frequency to a point that can match manifestations that are outside of your current environment. So I really think that programming is part of what is holding a lot of people in their current environments, even if they're on the spiritual path and even if they are manifesting, not being able to manifest to the degree that they feel they should be.
Mm-hmm.
But that would also be comparing yourself to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But um, yeah, the programs and the frequency that are running around people are so important when we're trying to manifest new earth frequencies. You have to really disconnect from that type of environment and allow your true frequency to ground. That's why we talk about going out into nature and, you know, spending time with things that you love, because that helps ground your natural frequency so that you can open up to higher levels of your existence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, those programs will, you being in them, playing in them, is going to keep you stuck in the cycles of the physical reality that you've been living in, right? So in order to step into something new, we have to start with coming to awareness of these programs that are keeping us where we are, if they're keeping us where we are, and then move beyond them. So grounding, certainly important first step in rising above those. New earth structures. I love that term that you often come back to. Talk to me about that.
Yes.
What do you feel into when you use that term?
Well, energetically, everything that we see is a structure, and the things we don't see are still energetic structures that hold data and information. So we exist within this matrix world built through constructs about the way that we're supposed to see the world and the way that we're supposed to interact in the world and what the world has available to us. And to me, um, well, this construct's an illusion because Mother Earth provides everything for free. We don't have to work to have anything that we need as a human. Um, and that is really lost in our idea of what we think freedom is within this
Mm,
construct, because this construct says that we have to work and that we have to provide ourselves with, food, water, shelter through a money system. And that's just not true at all. That's not a new earth
It's
concept,
just a
because
program.
it is just a program. And earth provides everything for free. And so I believe in creating communities where that's available to everybody, without money. They can come in and receive the education and knowledge that they need of how to take care of themselves, how to balance themselves, how, if they need housing, the homeless, like, homelessness should not exist, should not exist in any form. There is plenty for everybody. And so I believe in creating structures that have emergency housing, or housing for families that need to be able to have interaction. And that goes again to, the programs that are around us in the environment that we're in. We need to create spaces where people that are suffering, I know that suffering is an illusion, but that doesn't make it any less real in this 3D
Mhm.
reality. And I believe that, our roles as light workers in New Earth is to build bridges in order for those that are hurting and one way of existing can walk across to the being free, heart, mind, body, and soul, to be exactly who they are and not to have fear, because fear is also an illusion, but it seems very real in a 3D construct where you can't feed yourself if you don't abide by its rules.
Mhm.
And I was birthed children that have taught me that boundaries also do not exist. Um, they are also constructs. And sometimes we need to get really uncomfortable in breaking down these boundaries of separation, because we can say that we live in a dual world, and then we can say that fifth dimensional world is neutrality. But neutrality in itself is really just accepting the dualistic part of yourself and merging them together.
Mm.
So nothing actually goes away, it just becomes whole
Mhm.
instead of repelling one another. So, in order to do this, there are a lot of programs that need to be broken within a human psyche, because it's allowed to exist through controlling the reptilian brain or the animal brain. And really, we need to create the space of consciousness for our so-called animal to be, which, when it's free, it's just about playing, it's just about expressing itself, and not being afraid of fear, guilt, and shame, and all of the other things that come from duality and needing to keep things separated. And my son, he said this thing the other day about, nothing can actually touch each other because there's still space between the atoms. And I was like, wow, that was really insightful, Caleb. That's true. And the space in between the atoms is actually the most important space, because it's not made of matter, and it exists on both sides and allows both sides to feel equally, even though they don't merge together, because that's exactly what is created from the space in between, is that they can't merge together. So we need to come out of the space of repelling any
Mm.
pieces or parts of ourself or our society, and just start creating for the society that we wish to exist in on this earth, because this earth isn't going anywhere. 5D earth is going to be here.
Mhm.
So it's going to be tangible spaces. Light workers are not going to just be over the internet uniting anymore. They're going to be creating networks globally where we can travel freely between each other and express our gifts freely, and allow everybody from third dimensional consciousness to be able to gently level themselves up and a free experience where they're cared for and they're protected against the dualistic environment. Because while duality exists, it means that as far as the light rises, the dark comes to meet it. So people in their awakening experience have to experience duality, because as their light rises, as their vibration rises, they're also elevating the darkness in their experience to the same degree until you merge them together. So that creates a lot of suffering through the integration of your shadow, which was a lot of work for the first wave of awakeners in order to get to this point. And I don't believe awakening needs to stay in that same framework either, because it's still a framework. And I think that they should be brought in and allowed that space to ground their root chakra first, ground all of their necessity for being protected and safe. And I think that that will facilitate the space for people to have mass awakenings very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
because all of their human needs are met and are not judged, are not repelled. It's all allowed to be. And that creates an instantaneous freedom that allows true vibration and energies to surge within an environment, and complete support by the people around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once those lower energy centers collectively comes into a greater sense of harmony, it creates the space for us to rise up into those higher chakras. So
Right.
that's a really interesting way um, of expressing it. We're going to create these systems, these structures, so that there's a smoother ride for those that follow in finding that harmony, finding that balance. Because yeah, definitely that I think the root of what can keep us stuck in lower frequency states can all be traced back to fear, right? Fear of insecurity, fear of uncertainty. Um, that's what those are the programs that are really suppressing that, what you describe as that just willingness and natural play that is of our true nature when we move beyond the fear. Well, it's always of our true nature, but once it's the fear that's suppressing that in us. So that's, I think, the key, what you're describing there, the key to opening up for that type of experience where we are expressing ourselves fully, we are playing. That's, to me, what a new earth is all about, coming together for that experience of, you also said, not feeling like you need to work for anything because it's provided for. Feeling
Yeah,
into that
so
frequency is the means. You're just gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah, the energy of working and like creating and moving forward, if in alignment with your passion, is not work,
It's
it's
not.
just expression.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has a different thing that they're passionate about, or their unique expression within. And if everybody is being valued and allowed the space for their own personal expression, then there is no work, because what one person doesn't really like to do or doesn't find great joy in, somebody else does. So it's about like creating a network where everybody is allowed to express their own unique space that provides exchange without there's just no lack mentality within that because everybody's high vibing. You know, all your food, all your water, all your experiences, all the molecular structure of the entire environment is high frequency, which is another thing of how it can fast track people. Is programs, they're just held in place by frequency bands. So this is one of the things that's really important to me about this idea is children, um, and providing safe spaces for families, especially women and children that are in abusive relationships. This creates a lot of programs, you know, unconsciously. And for children, it's a lot harder to try to, you know, teach them anything about understanding what the programs are. I mean, how do you even do that? I don't know yet because I have children's that have these programs running. But if you take them to a high vibe environment, the programs cannot exist
Mm-hmm.
vibrationally. They're
Mm-hmm.
broken.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with the mimicking of the programs of the adults. You know, kids just pick up that and then they hold the energy imprint of it. And so a child that you can't explain the consciousness to in order to break that program, if you take them and you just put them in high vibe environments where they can see what it's like to truly play, what they can see what it's like to express themselves freely, then the programs, they just dissolve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's another really important reason that we need to start creating these structures in a tangible space, because children cannot awaken and children are in pain. So we as the awakened ones need to create the space for them to just come in and be
Mm-hmm.
safe and be cared for. And automatically that elevates them, because the only thing that is unconscious about the child is the programming that's implemented from birth. So they're not that far from their own consciousness if they're allowed to just be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it comes back to something I often like to think about. It's less about what we need to learn as much as it is about what we need to unlearn. Meaning, it's the space we give the children that is going to, it's the space that they're in, but it's, if we let them be in their true nature without our impressing upon them and their exposure to these programming, these programs that reside in the adults that are running them, then naturally I find that, you know, this is what they express in their beings. This is the true nature. This is how we know it's of our true nature, because this is what our children are like. So
Right.
it's it's really important and powerful that you're saying that, you know, it's about the vibration. It's about the vibration of the space, the environment that they're coming into. And if we simplify it to that, um, and another thing that comes from this for me is that we need to stop thinking that we have all the answers to show other people, including the ones that are now growing, now evolving. These I see the way in which we guide and we nurture being a lot more hands off. If we want these natural passions to blossom and emerge in an individual, we have to give them as much space to naturally blossom in that as possible. So it's almost like it's less about what we need to do than it is about what we need to stop doing, um, and letting the true nature, the natural passions emerge. And I really want to bring more energy to this vision that you're painting of a world in which we are giving each other the space to let these gifts, these geniuses, these passions to blossom in an individual. Because as you said, we all have this in us. We all have something in us that is trying to just be created through us. And what suppresses that in individuals, at least at this current time, is the way that we well, definitely the education system, this one size fits all kind of approach where everyone's doing the same test, everyone's learning the same thing. So I think that's going to be one of the keys to what this what these new structures are going to look like. Again, not so much about, more about vibration, more about elevation of frequency, vibration. How do we manage our vibration? How do we raise our vibration? And far less about the concepts that we teach, the information that we pass on.
Right. I mean, it's going to change with the type of people that are awakening. I mean, the ones that were awakening first, it was our mission so that we could create the spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to go through it in a certain way. And we also lived lives that really made us relatable to a lot of different people, because in the end, it's all about trust. And if we're just a facilitator to the awakenings, then it's about transparency. We don't need anything. That's the whole point. We, as facilitators, know that we don't need anything. We know that we receive everything freely and there is abundance always there. So we just hold the space for abundance to flow so that everybody can see what's happening. Because we know from, you know, our own awakenings that when we first started our process, it was all about visualizing what could be on the other side of where we were now. You know, what could our life look like if we weren't stuck in all of these ways that we're just supposed to be because, you know, everybody told us that that's just the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always the first step to try to visualize what's on the other side. But we also came in with holding a very high vibe so that we could have these experiences and work within very negative constructs and still hold our own integrity. So not everybody coming into the awakening process is going to be holding so much of their own vibration because they were much more open to reflecting the shadow vibration. And so that's one of the things that facilitating space allows for, is that, you know, it's no longer about needing to see and touch into your vibration to see what's on the other side. It's about showing the magic. Like, you just say, hey, look, come
Be the
here.
magic.
Yeah, just be. There's nothing for you to do but just figure out who you are and have fun at it, because we're all divine beings and there's nothing that you need to do. You just literally need to be who you are.
Say it again.
Just literally be who you are. Always and forever, because all we have is this moment. All we have is this moment. So who are we in this moment is who we will forever be.
Make it easy, family. Make it easy on yourself. We can make being who we are the easiest thing.
Right. Never judging yourself, because you are who you need to be at each moment. And that's okay, whatever expression it is. You can even be in a shadow expression. So what?
Love that
So
too.
what? Why are you judging yourself? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you needed to be that in order to create something within the vibration that you were in. And you're not meant to consciously know everything. You know, the energies are working magic, serious magic that we cannot see.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I was in an experience not too long ago where I was confronted by some government officials because they love to come in contact with me. And I was fully, because of the situation, just fully in my embodiment of like my personal energetic boundary, and like what the fuck are you doing here? It was my total vibe in that moment. And as I was talking, my hands were moving and I could feel the energy out of my hands so heavily. It was like fire on my hands. And I was, after I left that experience, I got a little bit scared at first because I was like, man, I just really laid that down. And I was like, what are you talking about, Tasha? Did you not feel that in your hands? Like, you were doing energetically whatever you needed to do to that structure in your full beingness. It has nothing to do with their response. That's the whole point of who I am, is that their response doesn't matter to me
Mm-hmm.
because it's only my response that matters. If my response is the only thing that matters, their response dissolves in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And if
non-existent.
you're looking too closely on what's happening outside of yourself and how other people are responding, and you're letting that impact or influence the expression of you, then you're going to suppress in yourself the true, full expression of you.
Right. Right. Because especially in the times that we're in right now, um, there's this idea of authority and authority
Mm.
constructs. And
Hierarchy systems.
yeah, to me, it's just comical because I just can't wrap my head around it anymore. I'm just like, who put these people in power? Like, it makes no sense to me how all these people can just believe that we are born into this world and need somebody to govern us. They are
Mm-hmm.
not doing a good job, in my opinion. I can govern myself much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that fear of these authority systems, because that's exactly why they are put in place, is to implement fear so that we stay within their structure and we listen to them as an authority figure. We have these stories that go back lifetimes of us being afraid to buck the system or to stand toe to toe with these so-called authority systems and their so-called power. And a lot of my experience has been to the degree to no longer be afraid, even if I'm standing toe to toe with them, because they can have a great track record of trying to take my power away from me, throw me in jail, something, whatever. But if I don't believe in it, then it can't happen. If I don't believe that they have any power over my existence, then it can't be. And that's part of what is different this lifetime versus the other lifetimes that we've been here, is this
Mm-hmm.
time they cannot win. There's too
Mm-hmm.
many of us holding a certain vibration. And on an energetic level, if we're standing in our sovereignty, we are connecting with all the beings that are holding their sovereign vibration on this planet. And that creates the power to not be overtaken or overshadowed by this so-called authority system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the bridge into the new earth as well, because um,
That's a huge
they
part.
yeah, they will want to destroy it. It's the whole point. That's how the earth exists the way that it is now, is because they have wanted to destroy anything that was high vibe or open minded in order to connect with their source. Because if you're connected to your divinity, you realize they have no power, they have no
Mm-hmm.
control. It just doesn't even exist. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
game that you say, well, I'm not
That you
playing anymore.
subscribe to. Yeah. People are believing
Right.
them into power.
Right. And that's exactly the truth. We just believe them into power. And that is a dream that I no longer want to have. I have a vision and I have a dream that is for the experience of everybody that lives on this planet. And through creating this experience now means that I transform all of my ancestors' experience in their world and everybody to come. And that is what stands for me. my now moment changes the genetic structure of anybody that has ever come through my bloodline, which we're all one. So that's everybody.
Mm. You're shifting the collective, girl. We're ushering in one of the ways that I think perfectly describes the new way is it's going to be a world of power over within opposed to power over others. That's what we're shifting away from. That's what we're integrating, power over within. And these systems that we're describing are reflective of power over others. And I think it's really important that you're describing it from the lens of those that are giving their power away, because that's what's feeding into the systems. That's what are holding them in place. So it's not, I'm not in the talk of these are the bad guys, we need to bring the bad guys down. I don't get involved with that. I'm not fighting against anything. But what I think we need to be encouraging and invigorating is that sense of take back your power, power over within. And in order for you to integrate that within yourself, it's one, not trying to control other people. So it goes both ways. You can't be an individual that's trying to control other people or trying to exert power over other people. But then it's also a matter of, are you giving away your power to some authority or to some other energy? And that goes beyond just authorities. That translates into, are you giving your power away to anything? Are you letting anything of your experience have a say in, or are you letting yourself believe that anything of your experience can cause for you to feel it in some type of way? If in any regard you feel like this thing, this person is causing me to feel this way, that's giving away your power. And so this comes back to the whole authority thing too, right? If we're fighting them, if we, and I think this is actually happening a little bit too much in the in spiritual communities, awakened individuals as well, who want to see the shift into a new earth where we govern ourselves. They're fighting these systems, they're fighting these individuals, but even that is giving them power, because it's perpetuating this idea and belief that they have any power to begin with. And now obviously we're talking on a far higher a far higher plane of understanding and awareness than just saying, okay, on the surface level, yes, there's rules and laws in place and whatnot, but it's that return to sovereignty, that I'm a sovereign being, I'm the one in power. That happens in each and every individual first before it can happen in the system in a grander scale.
Right. Well, it's psychological warfare is what they perpetrate. So it's not really about fighting it, but it's definitely about being seen and heard on the other side of it, so that people understand what's there to be broken within themselves. But nothing ever dies, energy never is truly destroyed, it's just transformed. So the way that we dissolve the system that's currently in place is that the more of us that take our power back from it, we're dissolving that system and transforming the energy into new earth. That's why new earth constructs have taken so long to really become available, is because the system is currently falling, and we are going to use that energy to rebirth something new. So energetically, we have been destroying the system by taking our power back. We are the destroyers, which is why we've had to grapple with our own shadow, because energetically we are destroying it by taking our power back. And we're going to take that power and funnel it into creating a new system that works for everybody. And really, it does have everything to do with fear. All of it has to do with fear. Fear of something outside of you, or fear of yourself inside and your own expression. And everybody says that, like, we have to have something that resembles this structure in order for protection. And I just find that really interesting that even light workers will sometimes think like, well, we have to have some sort of system that protects us from what? If you're sovereign, like,
Mm-hmm.
from what? Because you are creating your experience and you are creating your story. And it's only about becoming aware of that. That's how we change the collective, is just the amount of people that become aware of what they are creating. And there's nothing
And
there's
fully
nothing to
believe
fight.
that they are the ones fully creating.
Right. And that's a hard step for people
Mm-hmm.
whenever they've lived, really rough lives, to say, oh shit, I did all that to myself.
Yeah.
But um but that's taking your power back, because as soon as you realize that, then you are also understanding how you were creating it. And
Mm-hmm.
so you can shift what it is that you're creating in your reality. But we don't need to protect ourselves from people stealing from us, because if it happens, it's a message. you know,
Mm-hmm.
we don't need to protect ourselves from anything. What we need to do is really address the issues. We need to address mental health and what that is, because that is programs, that is energy possession of a lower vibration that controls the thinking processes and the biochemical responses within a human body. If you take somebody in and you, for one, let them know that there's nothing wrong with them, that they're not actually mentally ill, that they're okay, and then you start supporting their body and their health and their connection with other human beings and their well-being, things like mental illness dissolve. It all just dissolves within certain vibration of being and being allowed. And so all of these things that people are afraid of, that we think we need pieces of the current system to somehow transfer over or stay present, like jail or prisons, it's ridiculous. Nobody needs to be in a prison. Yeah, people do really bad things and there should be accountability, but let's put them in centers where they are able to heal, and
Mm-hmm.
where they are able to feel love, and where they are able to connect with their own soul's karma and save themselves by recognition of who they are, and restructure their own molecular structure so that they are not continuously born into a lower frequency structure. Like, there are ways to change your genetics, which is the end result of why we have any sort of crime or murder or mental illness. All of that is genetic, and genetics are also controlled purely by your environment. Your environment can completely change your genetic structure. So there doesn't have to be like pieces of the current structure that come into the new earth structure just because we think we need some type of protection. And I really think that's one of the things that even light workers are kind of hung up on, is that we still need to in some way protect ourselves from people that are going to harm us. Really, if we're just in a high vibe, they just can't even be part of the
Mm-hmm.
experience. I mean, I've had situations where my personal being, my physical body, has become completely invisible to certain people out in the world walking around, where people couldn't see me. Like, some people could, but other people would have to like come back into themselves in a weird way. I really don't know exactly what was happening, but energetically, science, real science, quantum physics, all of that is going to be existent in a different way in 5D Earth. And I believe it's quite possible that we can completely become invisible to the lower frequency beings. There's nothing to be afraid of. They're all programs that we need to break so that we can just allow true freedom. And I saw a meme from an Africa and a tribe in Africa, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it says that when somebody harms another person or some sort of crime, the tribe gathers around that person and tells them everything that's good about them and reminds them of who they truly are and love. And that's really the truth of what needs to happen. We need to rally around each other and remind each other of who we are, and love, just love. And the programs and the negative frequencies, they just cannot exist within that high vibe environment.
Mm. And again, comes back to just in each and every individual raising that vibration within themselves.
Right.
You know?
And
Yeah, I
sharing
mean
that.
the the whole feeling like we need to protect ourselves thing, that can only be directly intertwined with fear. They're the only reason why there could be that belief in or feeling like there's something that needs protecting means directly that there's fear present. So the answer is never in how we need to control our environments in order to change how we feel. As soon as we feel like we need to do something outside of ourselves or create something outside of ourselves in order for us to embody a frequency and feeling, then that's another context of giving away your power to something.
Right.
It has to always be that eternal shift, internal shift, first and foremost, and then letting the expression of self, letting the structures that we feel inspired to create to stem from there. And that will create for these high frequency systems where, like you said, lower vibration energies won't have a place. It just won't be in resonance with the what's being created through you. And so that's it right there. That shift and letting that come through in the reality that you're creating and that which we are co-creating.
Right. And that means that all of the current system is going to fall out of our resonance. It will no longer resonate with us.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're seeing things fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. Because we are at critical mass already. Critical mass is only about the vibration. It's not
Mm.
about the actual number of people. It's just
Oh.
about however many of us are truly grounding our essence and our vibration. That's the shift, because it's not about numbers. That's the whole thing, is none of it is about numbers. It's about
Mm-hmm.
frequency. It's about the imprint of the frequency and the energy. And this system has everybody labeled as a number. And it functions within, that's why it's called the matrix, in my opinion, is it's a network of data that takes everybody's name and places them with a number. And so when we start reclaiming our names, which is the creator, it completely falls apart. That area of the matrix, wherever you personally are, over your head disappears, because you are opening the network from being a number, and you are connecting then to a higher vibrancy of communication and oneness on the other side, where we're not separated. We just all exist as one, and we're all creating within a whole.
Co-creation is the name of the game.
Yeah.
So I want to hear more about well, it was one of the things I wanted to get into, but I'm happy that we got into what we did. Um, I want to get a little bit more into your experiences over the past couple months, going through the activation process, being a part of the academy. One of the reasons why I was interested in having this conversation with you is I've told you this one-on-one. I feel like you're becoming a showcase ascender. You're embodying everything that we look for, or this collective is looking for in an individual, whether they know it or not. This is it. You're stepping into your power. You're lighting your purpose on fire. Um, and it's been accelerating. It's been happening quickly. So
Yeah.
just tell me about what that experience has been like for you over these past few weeks, um, with the activation process and what has been unfolding for you.
Okay. I've had some pretty wild experiences through it. um, the first was because of being in the presence of your high vibe through the modules and connecting with myself, with that being like a space for me be able to connect with my true self. um, I was starting to break energetic programs like very quickly, to the extent that I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning one night and actually heard another voice running a program in my head. It was very interesting experience. um, and then I was able to connect with somebody to help me ground that energy, where I ended up having something escape through my right eye, which I believe was a program about the way that my masculine self viewed my feminine self and my
Mm.
shadow feminine self. And so from there, it's been like a roller coaster where I'm just like going up and shifting through everything. Oh my gosh, there's been so much. That was a really crazy experience, though. Um, I wasn't able to see through my right eye for like 3 days,
I
and then
remember that.
after I was able to see again, there was like a film over it that had to go away. It was really intriguing,
Intriguing.
and it was. Um, I've let go of an income source that I decided was no longer in alignment with the energy that I wanted to be bringing into my life and creating my life through.
Let me just pause you
Um,
right there.
okay.
The activation process makes you blind in your right eye, makes you give up income sources. Sign up to this and Academy today.
Yes. If you want to radically shift your life.
Please continue. Actually, Tasha, as you well, I don't really want to miss anything, but you can continue. I actually want to do something here and just include the link to the live stream here in the live stream. Um, for the academy, in case anyone's hearing this and they're being inspired to be a part of everything that we've been co-creating with one another. And I do think your story is going to inspire people, so please continue.
Yes. Well, my situation has been really powerful, but that is because of the fact that I put powerful intention into it. I was at a level already where I wanted to step into the platform of my true expression. And so I started the Ascending Academy with full intention to ascend completely into the 5D through the experience. So I personally have done the modules 3 times as my average that I do before I move on to the next one, because when I go through it the first time, I'm connecting mainly with a wound that's still in place there. And I love the way that you put the framework and the activation within each one module. So you're activated through the frequency and then led to do the action sheet and journaling exercises and such through being grounded to the higher frequency. So for me, I like to do things in 3 levels. We'll start with everything that's blocking me, and then we'll move on to what the essence is, and then we'll move on to actually the finished product of why it exists through my higher self, detached from ego belief structure that it generally starts in. So I'm sure not everybody has to do that, but I'm really serious about my work. So I do it 3 times each module. And I have not finished module 4 yet. So my final destination hasn't been completely outlined or activated, but I'm sure it will be very soon as I finish it up. But I've had amazing experiences through the entire thing. It really has helped with activating my higher frequencies so that certain programs no longer have to exist within myself. And it's been a great space of integration for my shadow feminine that was still trying to figure out exactly where that expression fit within my full embodiment. And I was still guilting and shaming that piece of me a little bit because it is not fully seen within the lightworker community as far as being a bright fire. There's still a lot of programming just in the collective in general of wanting to quiet, be in the space that sometimes we say is grounded, but sometimes that's an excuse for just staying small. And because my personal expression is really wild. It is. It's like I'm spontaneous. I like to have fun, and I really don't care about anybody's opinion. But I still have a slight amount of programming that wants me to stay in a way where, well, that expression triggers. It's built to trigger egos. It's built to trigger other people's boundaries and programs within a way of expression. So that's really what it was coming to terms with the fact of that's just who I am, and that's okay. Like, I want to trigger other people's egos so that they
And you're
can
feeling
break.
more confident in that, eh?
Definitely more confident, and more, not just more confident, more clear in what it is and what its expression is without trying to box it. Because that was the hardest part for that particular expression of shadow, was to figure out, well, I was wanting to box it,
Were you judging yourself for that?
I was wanting to hold it back, thinking that it was somehow
It was
out of
wrong.
resonance with the higher vibration.
Okay. Rather than
And
allowing it.
right. And truly it's not, but because it still is triggering a lot of ego attachments through people that are even in the light worker community, I was thinking that there was still something wrong with it, or still something that needed to be refined with it. And that's not true. It's just we all still have an ego, because technically our ego isn't really going to go anywhere. We just master it. We just master the way that we think and the way that our mind works, and we bring in consciousness and expand beyond the limiting constructs of our ego. But it's part of the human experience, so it's not going to go anywhere. At least, I mean, maybe it will when we're in 5D, but we're still in the space where it exists. We just give it jobs, But
I heard it being put, it's not that the ego's going away. It's that, well, I think the term mastering it is definitely appropriate. Another way is we're upgrading the ego as well. We're upgrading
right.
that sense of identity. That's still going to play a part. We're still going to play in that, but it's not about it not being present. It's about recognizing it for what it is and using it with wisdom, using
Right.
wisdom, playing it, enjoying it, while being detached.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's
You're
your
playing your ego
unique
powerfully.
expression. Yeah, it's we don't have to give up our unique personality to be part of the whole. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's in contradiction because we're co-creating. So until we're co-creating with other light workers, we're co-creating with the universe and the unknown spaces. And that's what makes the ego afraid of rejection, is not co-creating in the physical aspect or being accepted in the physical aspect. So a lot of my experience, especially, I'm just going to say our WhatsApp group is like amazing to connect with all of the people in the academy. I mean, oh, so much healing has taken place through
It's a beautiful
our
space.
personal interactions with each other and our stories. And oh,
I
everybody's
love
just so
everyone.
there for each other. I know, it's amazing. It's amazing. I really love it, more than words can even, more than words can even say. It's my family. It's my family. And that's amazing to wake up every morning and you just go and you connect with your family. So what's up? How y'all doing today?
So much love, Tasha.
So much.
I have so much love for you, for each one of the members in that group. And we're just growing and expanding with one another. And the family's growing as well. And um, I do want to give you a very special shout out because, well, to all of you actually, this is this is some of the early stages of this, right? This is the very beginnings of something that I think we both know is going to become so much more. And that's not my thing, that's an our thing. So I'm confident that with the sort of individuals that we've brought together here, people like yourself, being a part of this thing, I have so much confidence and faith that we're going to continue to co-create a beautiful space that welcomes in even more people, that does incredible things where we're coming together in co-creation of not just this thing, but connections that lead into creation structures, new earth structures that that are beyond just the academy. And like I was saying, I there will always be a special place in my heart and my story for those that were among the first ascenders, the founding members. You guys are, um, to be a part of the academy and to undergo this process. That's the other thing about it is you're helping me see this process for what it is and what it's able to do for someone. I'm sure after, especially once you get finished with them, we talk a little bit more about it, there'll be things that we can talk about that will allow us to upgrade it and make it even more powerful.
Right.
So it's been absolutely incredible to witness in you the transformation and the shift that you've been undergoing, and to know that the activation process has played any part in that. It's truly is something humbling, and I'm becoming more and more confident and trusting of everything that's been unfolding because of the experiences that I've been having with those of us in this group, as well as the interactions and the connection I have with you. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been an amazing catalyst in my life and the exact direction I wanted to go extremely quickly. I mean, to me, that's the most amazing part about it, is it's so fast. I've been part of coaching programs before where, I've done a lot of inner work and learned a lot about myself. But for me, the vibration and the environment and experience, along with the way that you're able to easily conceptualize through your higher self what it is that you're doing in this moment. It's really fast tracked. I think that's even an understatement, really, because
Wow.
it's amazing how quickly you can shift your entire consciousness through the program and through the support and through the connection and the network. I mean, I never have to think about who I'm going to talk something through with anymore. It's just right at my fingertips. And for me, that's a really, really, really beautiful experience, especially since I've spent a lot of time needing to come up with financial ways in order to connect with somebody to help me um, kind of integrate what I was going through at a certain part in my journey. So I would like have a huge consciousness shift, but need to connect with somebody else on that vibration in order for me to integrate it within myself easier, at least. And Ascending Academy throws that out of the water because it's everything that I need within the platform. It gives me people to talk to about my experience every day and automatically bring me back into high vibe, you know, experience through it because oh, it's just so beautiful. So
It's
beautiful.
truly,
And I love
truly.
all of you so much.
And everything that you're describing, just likewise. I'm getting, sometimes I feel like I'm getting more out of it than the ones that we're bringing in. So I
That's New Earth structure right there. Everybody equally participating and equally benefiting.
it's a nice thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's heaven on earth, right? To have everything you need and everything that you wish to experience and everything that you are working to experience just right at your fingertips. I mean, you know that you're going to create it through the vibe that you're being able to connect with and ground and create with. I mean, it's perfect. What do you say? Perfection just got more perfect.
I think that's the note that we're gonna leave off on because this is perfect, but it just got more perfect.
That's what I
I can't wait. The one other thing I just want to throw in there is I can't wait till these spaces we are creating blossoms into physical manifestations where we all get to connect in person. Um, that's a big next step for us, and it's going to be a beautiful one to take.
yes.
Tasha, I'm honored by having you join me for this, as well as sharing your experience. I deeply appreciate you coming on to share about your experiences. I do want this to happen again. Well, for more than one reason. One, once you completely finish the process, I want you to come back on. Not maybe not right after, but like a little ways down the road. I want to see, well, I'm looking forward to seeing what unfolds, but I
Me
want to
too.
see and have you share what what emerges from it, what gift emerges from it, from you following completing the process. But the other thing too, and I knew this going into this conversation, I told you this earlier, I even before having a conversation like this with you on a podcast, I already can sense that you're someone that I think we can have so many more of these. I feel like we can have so many one-on-one podcast episodes. We can even bring in some of the other family as well. Um, and I feel like we'll always have a high vibration to share. So I I definitely expect that we're going to be doing more of these in the future.
Sounds exciting. And I'm certainly excited to finish module 4. Like, it's going to be life altering.
That's music to my ears. Tasha,
It's all
thank you
amazing.
again for being here with us, being all that
Thank
you
you.
are, being the activation, the walking activation that you are. I think that's going to be it for the live stream, family. Ascenders, those of us in the live stream audience. Tasha, I don't know if you caught a look of it. Actually,
I did
one last
not,
thing
but
before we go. I know you're no longer doing the podcast, but is there somewhere that you would like to point people to if they want to connect with you? I know once your stuff starts coming online, we'll have something for sure. But is there a space that if someone wanted to connect with you, it'd be the best to?
yes, you can find my page at buildlife33, and you can email me at buildlife33gmail.com.
Cool. Build Life, that's your Facebook, right?
That's my Facebook page, yes.
Okay, cool. And you're also tagged in the description. So for those of us in the audience here, connect with Tasha. You're gonna be happy that you did. Tasha, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ascenders, thank you, thank you, thank you. So much love pouring through me for all of you. I'm just really grateful to be in this moment, in this experience. It's been growing more and more vibrant, and perfect just keeps getting more perfect. In oneness, this is Bryan Henry and the beautiful Tasha Belle. Until next time, keep ascending. Ascenders, love y'all for this episode of the Awaken podcast. I hope you enjoyed being on the receiving end of the magic that is Tasha Belle. I also hope that her sharing her experiences with being a part of the Ascend Academy and undergoing the activation process is going to help some of you that have heard this invitation, that have been putting out there for the beings of light, the light workers that are here ready to unite and serve. I hope those of you that have heard this invitation have a little bit more to work on to realize and connect to whether this is on your path or not. So let me put out the invitation once again, and I'll probably never stop. We're looking for the star seeds, the light workers, the ones that have come here to support the shift in consciousness and co-create a new earth, like Tasha Belle, like myself, and all others in the Ascend Academy. If this resonates with you and you've heard the call to serve, you might be what we're looking for. You can head on over to academy.togetherweascend.com to learn more and perhaps apply to the Ascend Academy. Anyways, Ascenders, I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Awaken. And until next time, keep ascending.